until and unless we can get away from the self-hate and disrespect and marginalization that our Kalinaru people and our African descended people have been confronted with. This morning we're here to talk about the Cocoa Project, but I thought it was important to understand, for our folks to understand, that this whole movement had its genesis in long-term relationships. I've mentioned Agnes, Errol and I go back to grammar school days, but in 2015, Caribbean Agricultural Network was founded, and one of the early members was Dr. Julius Gabi, the son of the Right Honorable Marcus Muzaga, who donated about 400 breadfruit plants to Dominica and his homeland Jamaica in honor of his father who came to Dominica in the 1930s. That whole idea of the breadfruit project was part and parcel of an indigenous effort to create a sustainable agriculture base, of which cocoa forms part. And I will have everyone know that in 2008, we embarked on the first cocoa project, and that project, Chocolat de la Dominique, was designed to show our people that we could provide ourselves with not only nutritional value through things like breadfruit, but also with cocoa as well. I'm not sure whether the share screen is working. I'm trying to show some slides, but I'll go on to say that in 2015 we did the planting of breadfruit. Yeah. It says I'm sharing, but you're not. Are you seeing anything?
Yes, we are seeing, but start the presentation. Yeah.
Okay. So, let's see here. So, we planted, in fact, at the very UB Center where we are. We thank Keynote Joseph of UA for having us and for always being a keen collaborator. Unfortunately, that plant, which would have been a full-blown tree by now, was blown down by Hurricane Maria. One of the persons that who benefited from that project was Adrian Bandis, who may be in the audience. And Adrian, I know, has been able to do great things by way of tending his trees, his breadfruit trees, and doing breadfruit chips. In 2020, 21 thereabouts, well, prior to that, in 2015, we also had a visit from the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, with Dr. Nando and Dr. Patel, who came by and provided great educational value in a food preservation project held at the Home Economic Center of the Dominica Grammar School. Of course, Sister Agnes S. Jeff was there, our leaders, Errol Emmanuel and Dr. Davis Lloyd were there as well. And fast forward to 2020-21, we had the Cocoa Project that Dr. Lloyd and Dr. Emmanuel, Errol Emmanuel, he might as well be a doctor. His skills in agriculture being what they are. Worked with Jeff to teach our farmers grafting and other modalities, including the gene identification, or the genetic coding identification for our cocoa plants on Dominica through the University of West Indies laboratories in Trinidad and Tobago, sister island south of us. And that's what was filmed, this whole process of interacting with our farmers, teaching them best practices in pruning and harvesting and curing, and the identification of our different strands or varieties of cocoa on Dominica, because prior, we just said we have cocoa. But what kind of cocoa? Is it fine flavored cocoa? We now know that Dominica has fine flavored cocoa of the best kind. And that gives Dominica a huge advantage in the global cocoa industry architecture that can redound to our benefit in years to come. I will say that the opportunity that we have today is one where we can build a cocoa industry, not simply have cocoa plants, helter-skelter, but build a comprehensive cocoa industry where we can move from planting, tending, harvesting, and processing cocoa on Dominica and have an annual cocoa festival that would have been preceded by a national cocoa cooperative or corporation where all our farmers can work together with our CAN members overseas, working with the University of Maryland Institute, working with Chrisar and Eric Reeves back in Boulder, who was so kind to come to Dominica and to be with us and to help guide us, working with people like Dr. Sam Christian, who was in Dominica, is now here in the United States, Major Francis Richards, Captain Frankie Tong, one of the early founders of CAN. So, in conclusion, of course, I would have liked to be a little more adept. My machine seems to have frozen, and I can't seem to be able to work the actual PowerPoint, but it's my hope that this morning's film, when you look at it and you see the tremendous effort, in particular put out by Dr. Lloyd and Brother Aaron Emanuel, and the guidance and support, financial and otherwise, of Sister Agnes Estrie, I trust that you will all be inspired to understand that in Dominica we still have an opportunity to treat each other fairly, to be kind to each other, to learn to collaborate and build community with each other in a way that can prosper not only our agriculture sector as we're trying to do with cocoa, but our entire community, where we have that love of country over selfish interest or partisan interest, and love of the beloved community that we intend to build with sustainable agriculture that meets our food needs, with a sound environmental practices ecosystem where we protect our rivers, our water catchments, and as Dr. Lloyd always tells me, protect our soil, that TFM that allows us to sustain our lives, as well as a society based on equality of opportunity, where each and every Dominican feels a place that's respected and respectful of all strands of our nationality, all of us working together, one with another, to build the Dominica that we love. I thank you very much, and I apologize for any of the technical missteps. I'm just a small-town lawyer, and I'm not skilled in the ways of IT in the modern era, but I did want to make sure that I remembered to put my shirt jacket on this morning in homage to Edward Oliver LeBlanc, our Chief Minister of the 1960s and Premier, who was an agriculturist and who always taught us to love Dominica, and who also brought out the shirt jack into our culture in respect of the environmental and the climatological conditions which favor such rare, proud, dignified Dominicans that we desire to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Christopher, very much. I didn't get your name on Mr. Jack. Mr. Jack this morning. All right, we're going to invite Dr. Lloyd to give a brief overview and video screening and an appreciation for what was done by way of the project. We have a little shift in the agenda, so we're going to put the video on first, and then we will proceed with other remarks. So Dr. Lloyd, please facilitate. Should we?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Mr. Reginald Severin, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy. Ms. Laura Hilbert, Head of Dominica Project Office, UNDP Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Ms. Iris Talbot, who is the Operations and Administrative Manager for UNDP Dominica Project Office. Ms. Agnes Esprit, the Jeff Small Grants Program National Coordinator. Mr. Ken Cooper, our Chairman and Eco-Technical Specialist. Mr. Lloyd Pascal of Dexia. Mr. Gabriel Christian, online. He is President of CAN. I see other invited guests. Welcome Ms. Pat Nasiro, the representative of the Northeast Cocoa Producers Cooperative, and also participant or beneficiary of the program. You're welcome here. Ladies and gentlemen, all invited guests and those listening. The road has been long and hard, this project, a few years. But it's the feeling of joy and gratitude and indeed satisfaction that I stand here today to give you a brief overview of this project. We've had some snippets and here and there. The title of the project is Developing Sustainable Cocoa Production Options for Dominica. But for me personally, the part in that title that really resonates with me, apart from the cocoa and all these things, is the for Dominica part. And I think for Khan and most of us involved, the issue was doing it for Dominica, for country. There's nothing in terms of personal benefits or pay or whatever. So the title that you hear, the Chief Operating Officer, it's always, it's really voluntary, right? That's what it is. So, but the project really shows, I think it demonstrates really strong and effective collaboration at different levels. Okay, we have the donors, and I'm so thankful for Jeff, Small Grants Program, UNDP, for their support. The farmers, CAN and its membership. And when we talk about CAN membership, we're talking about a corporation of Dominicans and Caribbean people in and out of Dominica. Right? Retired professionals, elders, right? Regional research institutions like UE, right? And local service providers, or videographers, or graphic artists, and so on. And the list goes on. So it's a really, collaborative effort. Anyway, we have a bit of a story, so I'm going to try to condense it. So bear in mind that the video tells a lot of the story. But just before Hurricane Maria, CAN was alerted to a request for concept notes or proposals on the Jeff Operation Phase 6. And climate smart, innovative conservation, agroecology. Big word, basically mean for doing things properly. Doing things our forefathers used to do, is paying attention to our surroundings and not disturbing the environment. That's basically what it means. So that was one of the stated outcomes of the Jeff OP6, operational phase 6. And, we thought, based on CAN's capacity, based on our history, what we've done, we felt that was a good target for us. We could deliver on this. And we decided that cocoa was the vehicle, the ideal vehicle to deliver on that. If I start to give you the reasons why, we probably wouldn't leave it today. But essentially, we set out some objectives, right? One was to increase knowledge and awareness of sustainable options for cocoa production. We wanted to build local capacity on sustainable production and post-harvest techniques. We're referring to cocoa, right? We wanted to promote climate smart and economic approaches for revitalizing the agricultural sector in Dominica. We wanted to preserve and protect and also conserve the national cocoa genetic resources. We had in mind, that we had quality hidden there. We were also very interested in building local capacity and plant propagation for cocoa and the shade crops necessary for cocoa. cocoa like bananas and plantains. Dominica has a very rich cocoa history, and we believe that needs to be unearthed for our enlightenment and also for our collective benefit as Dominicans, as nature island people. The records of the botanic gardens, and I think we are in that space, we always probably from this part of the gardens. Around 1922, give some insights about the level of research that was happening in this period, right, that we are today. That one such report speaks of a plot number 13. I'm not sure where it was, somewhere around, not too far from where we are. And it says on that plot, plants of cocoa hybrid. So a hybrid cocoa, right? Meaning that it constitutes, it's not just simple, there's different things coming together here. Was obtained by crossing alligator cocoa and forastero. I've read about forastero, I don't know anything about alligator cocoa. Right? But it really seems that, you know, we had some serious, in-depth kind of research going on. And it's no surprise that all across the country is scattered, you know, really gems, cocoa gems, I call it. So, during our search, Harold and myself, we went all across the country. And we came across one man called Francis Ashby, in an area called Clear, not too far from and he introduced us to a cocoa called, he called it wine cocoa, Caco Divin, right? And this was one that when the genetic work was done at UWI, that, you know, this was totally unique, nothing like it, just totally something that's totally different from it. And you will get the details later on. But we also have to credit people like Mr. Derek Zamor, a retired agricultural extensionist. He was very helpful to guide us as to where certain resources were across the island. We had a good idea, and actually, before the farmers were not so concerned about, not that they were not concerned, but they didn't have that responsibility so much as to selection of different varieties and mixing, because cocoa is a very interesting plant, right? You have those that are self-pollinating, those that require to be cross-pollinating, and so on. And then you need to have a good mixture of them within the farm so that, you know, it's really effective in terms of production and so on. And they understood that well, they knew the thing. So they would give the farmer a set of plants which would be mixed so that he's planting cocoa, all right, and not to bother about all this stuff. All that is done for him. Now, or her. Today, we not, you know, we've lost a lot of that knowledge and so on, and we operate in this modern way. But science has also been helpful to us because now we can take small pieces of leaf from a cocoa plant and sell it to Trinidad, and they can tell us what's the genetic makeup of it. And we know from that work that Criollo, it's what do you call it? It's one that is associated with fine flavor. So actually there are 10 genetic lines of cocoa. So you can say 10 parents, so to speak, right? And Criollo is very popular in terms of being fine flavor. You have the for Estero, you have Leonardo, which is known for its hardiness and disease tolerance. So, try not to make it too long. I just want to highlight some of our achievements through this project. So we were able to produce over 3,000 cocoa plants, grafted cocoa plants. I don't think grafting was done seriously in cocoa before this project, seriously. They would do cuttings before, right? And so on. And the issues with cuttings and so on. I think it's an improvement which we are happy to see that it's even taken on more and people recognize the value of that, because the reason why we push grafting is that with grafting you are able to clone, make an exact replica of the plant that you have. If you do it from seed, because for the same reason that our brothers and sisters most times not identical to us, even if they came from the same parents. That's the same thing happening with plants, right? Once you have sexual reproduction, the chance of combination you get. So, but if you do it vegetatively, right, as we've done, which grafting is a vegetative propagation technique, you get the exact, replica of clone. All right, so we had 3,000 plants. We had those 4 demo plots, which were also germplasm plots, because we went out and bought all these different types of cocoa, fine bush, so we had to set up demonstration plots. So the farmers are doing things slightly different in terms of how they produce, but also we have a stock, a gene bank of those things. So if you want more plants, you can go to these sites to get them. The genetic identification, which Mr. Christian mentioned, was done. We'll get more of that. We also had capacity building in terms of farm and field school, where we looked at cocoa production, establishment, pruning, a very important function which is not done enough, not just for cocoa but for all our fruit trees really. Rehabilitation, or to rehabilitate the farm coming from a hurricane, we need to rehabilitate, and harvest and post-harvest issues, which is very critical for cocoa. Another aspect was the grafting, as I mentioned, and the micro-propagation of bananas and plantains, right? A technique to rapidly multiply plants and produce plants that are disease-free, almost as good as tissue culture plants. Right? We were very pleased that we had participation of the youth. We were able to support Mr. Roman Paris of Bataka to establish his plant nursery. Although it didn't continue very long, he had to great actually, but for the time it lasted, we were very happy with that. The beekeeping part of it was also pretty, I think, a good achievement for us. So this sort of sums up, the main outcomes or achievements under the program. But we have the benefit of technology. So we've put together a short documentary film that we're going to show to you right now. It is highlighting the key lessons learned from the project and the key activities, the main activities completed under the project. Thank you for your attention, and ask you to bear with us for a few minutes or a few seconds. And show the video.
a little-known island in the Caribbean called Dominica, cocoa was big business. Dominica was known for its fine flavor cocoa, but as bananas boomed and other crops dominated the landscape, cocoa production was all but forgotten. And with the passage of Category 5 Hurricane Maria in 2017, almost all of what remained was seamlessly devastated. As the demand for fine flavored chocolate rises, CAN, the Caribbean Agricultural Network, seized the opportunity to develop some of the core pillars required to build a sustainable cocoa industry through a Jeff Small Grants program, developing sustainable cocoa options for Dominica. The program utilized scientific methods to genetically identify the types of cocoa, provided farmers with training in everything from grafting to harvesting, and taught farmers innovative ways to earn more revenue while farming cocoa in a sustainable manner.
As the title suggests, developing sustainable options for cocoa production in Dominica, the whole idea was to relook the production system for cocoa and see what areas that needed to be improved and to develop. One of the crucial areas was in terms of our germplasm, right? What are the types of cocoa we have in Dominica, and specifically those with very good traits for chocolate making and for processing and so on. One of the first order of business was to try to identify those clones and to be definitive about them, and that involved collecting samples from across the country and have them analyzed and so on.
What kind of sought to do is approach it from a scientific standpoint where we can do that DNA fingerprinting to know exactly what it is we have. What are the constituents, what makes up what we call fine cocoa in Dominica.
After collecting cocoa samples from around the island and using GPS to tag their locations, 60 samples were then sent to the Cocoa Research Center in Trinidad, where they were identified genetically through a DNA fingerprinting technique.
At the Cocoa Research Center, we use a state-of-the-art detection system in order to genetically fingerprint the cocoa samples we obtained from Dominica. These samples from Dominica, we're extremely excited to see that over 50 of the samples, 50 of the 60 samples were completely unique, totally different from the 6,000 reference profiles. Of those 60 samples that were sent, 17 had at least 30% Creole ancestry, and about 11 had at least 50% Creole ancestry. And this is exciting and great news for Dominica, because the Creole ancestry is one of the important facets for fine flavor cocoa. So it means that Dominica is well poised in terms of its genetic farm material to have excellent fine flavor cocoa, and they can then use this to develop their industry better.
Back in Dominica, with this newfound insight, CAN was able to provide farmers with plants of known genetic makeup, a number of which were planted on 4 demo plots, which were established as part of the program.
What we did is to put the different cultivars in straight rows, label them so that in future we do not have to go back to the far places we went to collect the samples to send to Trinidad. But we already know what they are already labeled on our demo plots.
We wanted to train people in areas of grafting. Propagation was really key because this was coming after Hurricane Maria. We wanted to make sure that we build a capacity to produce plants so we could actually have more cocoa. Really set the foundation for building a sustainable cocoa sector in Dominica.
Through the Jeff-funded program, CAN was able to provide 3,000 grafted plants. And as part of their farmers training school, farmers were trained in how and why to graft their trees.
I took part as a facilitator in cocoa grafting and propagation. So we did from sowing the seeds, nursery management, pest and disease management, how to graft, how to select your graft, what variety, what characteristics you're looking for. So I think we trained a total of maybe 60%. compliant. So I was training them in how to clone their plants. In grafting, you select a branch from a mature tree, thing that will determine the plant you get in the end, and for the rootstock, you choose the seed from the cocoa pod. So there's different parentage of cocoa, I would say. So there's the forastero variety, which is known to be drought tolerant and more disease resistant than Criollo. Criollo is pine flavored, so Criollo will be cyan, and forastero will be rosa. So the cyan is what you want for the fruit production, the pulp to make the chocolate or the cocoa sweets. But the rootstocks also is to fight diseases in the soil, so you have to be specific as to what rootstocks you use. So after you graft it in the 3 months, you cover the first sleeve. To keep the humidity for 14 to 21 days, so that it doesn't dry out. And after that, you remove it, and then from there, there's another 3 months in the hardening stage before they can be field ready to plant out.
After these plants were field ready, they were delivered to farmers. On the 4 demo plots established, cocoa was planted alongside traditional and non-traditional shade crops and cover crops that reduce the need for chemical weed control and provide income as the cocoa trees mature.
Bananas and plantains are excellent shade crops for cocoa. They grow very well. And we actually train farmers in doing micro-propagation, how to produce disease-free plants, right? That are not affected by nematodes or boreals and so on. And we try to promote that whole sustainable type of production where we rely less on agrochemicals, right?
Over 180 persons were trained, 25% of which were women, as well as a number of youth.
Well, we plant some bananas first, and then after those cocoa, we have ready plant those cocoa, and then after we plant some more bananas, we go up to shading for them.
First time I heard about the program, I was interested because I also wanted to start off with my personal farm. So I asked my mom about it, if they could run a demo plot on a farm, and I was pretty much interested. So we went ahead, and thereafter I pretty much took interest in everything that's kind of developed.
When Mr. Henry Colanche was at the side of him, I wanted to plant a few cocoa. I wanted to plant a short crop that I can get a faster crop. So I decided Tanya, cashew, and cassava. That's what I like to plant in the cocoa. No, what is your problem? Yeah, I don't know what it's special. And I'm not an artist. It's a good industry. And cocoa around home. And if you can cocoa,
when you talk about carbon footprints, because our project was also a sustainable project, we also want people to be able to get certain types of services in close proximity to where they reside.
When you brush cut, you use less chemicals, and less chemicals is always better.
In addition to learning about cocoa planting and propagation, the project also taught about plant management, cocoa processing, and one additional income stream, bees.
So what the training was practical beekeeping. From A, rearing bees, keeping bees, finding location, to Z, in extraction, everything, bottling and so on, labeling. Some of the materials the program handed over to the trainees was a box of bees, full of bees, and other beekeeping materials. The cocoa will take about between a year and 2 years to start growing and bearing for them. Beekeeping will also another source of income. They can get money to extract to sell to sustain their family also. We need bees because bees pollinate about probably 70 to 80% of our food income, like mangoes, avocados, turnips, even tomatoes and so on. So we needed this to pollinate our food. No bees, no food on the table.
Through CAN's holistic and sustainable approach to cocoa production in Dominica, the hope is that Dominica can cash in on this growing industry.
This project by CAN sees as an important initiative to begin to look at what we really have, what is the value of what we have, to document it, catalog it, so that the country itself can benefit from this billion-dollar industry that is existing worldwide.
Compared to bulk cocoa, which sells at up to $3,500 per metric ton, the International Cocoa Organization estimated in 2016 that fine flavor cocoa can sell at up to $10,000 per metric ton.
The demand for fine flavor cocoa is increasing, right, all over the world. And I think it places Dominica with an advantage, being that we have that resource globally. Most of the cocoa available in Dominica is fine flavor, but we actually have some of the finest flavor that you could find anywhere in the world.
What we try to do in that small project is to set the foundation and to begin to let people understand that cocoa, like every other crop, is science-driven. And once we understand the science of the crop, and we can train people, arm them, tool them with the necessary and appropriate knowledge, then we can begin to build a strong and vibrant cocoa industry. We do not want to be just carriers of water and heroes of food. We would like to have a cocoa industry that is such that we can do the product transformation. We can add value to cocoa. There are a range of products that you can get from cocoa. But before you even get to them, you must start with the basics. And what can I do is to start with the basics.
With the fundamentals in place, this little-known island of Dominica could once again return to being a cocoa haven and join the elite group of fine flavor cocoa producing countries, which could provide massive gains for the island. For CAN and Dominica, this is just the beginning. How far the industry goes is up to the people of Dominica. But for now, the future looks bright.
Fledgling or growing industry. It was a very good refresher. Some of us didn't know the history, as well as the guide as to how we move forward. I think we could leave here quite a bit just from the video on the interviews. University of the West gave the clear indications to the problem that we have in terms of genetic material conservation, as well as I enjoyed the part of the integration, because there's no cropping system anymore, there's farming system. So it really brought to be how we could integrate. And the bees was an interesting aspect as a pollinator and also as a source of income. So it's, to me, this is something that we need to start to do as we move into other commodities. Now we do have other persons to make some remarks. So let me invite Ms. Laura Hildebrand to make some remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. Also, thank you for pushing my talk until after the video, because I'm relatively new to Dominica. I still have a lot to learn about what's happening, and every day I'm fascinated to see Dominicans and how connected they are to nature. I like to say nature island people, because this is one of the things I see every day, and I'm amazed to see, somebody who works in an office also has a farm, also is a little bit of an expert on cocoa or bananas or plantains, whatever it is, but and the passion is there, and the Small Grants Program really is all about people and that passion. It's about taking these global, lofty ideals and funds and bringing them down to the level of people, because we work in our offices, government, UN, we build and develop policies, strategic plans, reports, for that drive the direction of the country. But more than anything, for me, after all these years at UNDP, one of the things I like to see is how we can leverage these global funds to make big impact. So, we talk about the small grants program. Makes it sound kind of small and insignificant, but it's not at all, because it's the small grants program that delivers value directly to people. And it doesn't happen without tremendous passion and dedication of those people. Be it my colleague Agnes, who's been with the program from the beginning, I think, in Dominica, or very close for many years, really pushing and nurturing and developing these ideas, connecting the opportunity with the people who have the passion and the drive to deliver the ideas. So thank you to CAN, thank you to Agnes for delivering on that, and then really congratulations, because what this video shows is that, and the research shows, is that Dominica's sitting on national treasures. I mean, that there's gold out there in the forest that you have yet to identify and discover and refine and deliver for value for people, for the country, and for the economy. And it's very exciting to learn about cocoa in particular. I mean, certainly I can attest to how delicious it is, but to see that scientifically proven and then to deliver that in terms of market value. So a very, very important project. Again, starting small, but hopefully this can build and grow into more of an industry for Dominica. I hope that this initial input can bear fruit for the economy. And the SGP program, the Small Grants Program, was created as a result of the Rio Earth Summit, the original Earth Summit, 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, and recognizing the importance to think globally but act locally. And this is the embodiment of that through a global fund, is a means to really take those global policies and commitments. We read the stories of governments going and pushing the needle every year in the global fora in terms of driving a more sustainable future. But what's most important about that is ensuring that there is impact down at the local level to individual people and to national economies. So, I mean, really that's all I wanted to say, is just to really, from the bottom of my heart, congratulate you, thank you, and may we continue this tremendous work, specifically here on cocoa, but keep the ideas coming for SGP. It's an open opportunity. Keep working within your communities, identify what you have, what you want to pitch to us. And not just Small Grants Program, we have other programs within UNDP to support the agriculture sector. So we cannot deliver on those global commitments without the passion, ideas, research of local people. So congratulations to CAN, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and to learn more about the program, and hopefully to continue to support you in the future. Thank you so much.
Think globally, act locally. It's a lovely tagline, and I think it's important that we learn from the global village, but we're able to anchor it, to get it into the grassroots. I think this is a perfect opportunity. I know the UNDP's small grant really has made impact in terms of communities we have worked. It has also go to suggest small grant groups. We have seen the intervention on commodities, and there are a number of commodities that we can speak of. So I'm glad that we can continue it and build on some of the initiatives that has taken place. We now invite the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Environment to give some remarks. So let's welcome Mr.
Let me recognize Mr. Coppel, specialist at AICA, Ms. Agnes Esprit from the Jeff Small Grants Project, Ms. Laura from UNDP and her fellow colleagues, Dr. Lloyd, colleague, worker at Dexia, recognizing the Director of Agriculture, Mr. Ferrara, and all those who are invited here this morning. I'm a little much impressed by what is going on and the work that has traversed over the past years. For us, it is awakening in recognizing that sustainable agricultural practices are actually here on Ireland in 2023. It's a little much emotional for me because in 2000, I did an unusual thing. I left Dominica working at Dexia and decided to migrate to look for what you will call a different aspect of agriculture. And I found a little place called Goldsboro, North Carolina, associated with the North Carolina State University, where the focus was learning sustainable agriculture. And one of my dreams, while I was there for 2 months working at the Center for Environmental Farming Systems in Goldsboro, North Carolina, is we have sustainable agriculture in Dominica. And I'm seeing over the years, especially being a banana farmer growing up as a little boy, where every practice that was introduced in banana farming was basically just eroding our sustainable practices. And I'm sitting there as a boy in North Carolina and thinking, what can we do to actually return back to our natural farming systems, which are basically sustainable? And here it is that people are putting millions of dollars to try to adopt a practice in the US, which is a highly industrialized agricultural area. And they are putting billions of dollars into their agricultural, what they call the farm bill, to try to introduce a practice that I see we grew up with, and as a 70s boy, literally grew up with doing, but which we basically, because of market requirements and market specifications, and of also preferential treatment in markets, which all got lost eventually because they were not sustainable. And time has proven that these practices are not sustainable. So the question for us today is, what do we do to return back home? Or what do we do to actually go back to our roots and actually develop sustainable agricultural systems and to practice sustainable agriculture? And here it is, this is a prime example. This is a very good example because as we know, sustainability is on 3 prongs: the ecology, the systems, the natural systems out there where we actually grow food, the economics of it, where we actually find ways to actually make money, and of course, to look at the protection of the environment to ensure that whatever we are doing does not harm the environment, but keeps the environment in pristine condition to allow us to continue doing it year over year. And finally, there's the people. Without the people, none of these things will work, because at the end of the day, we grow food to feed ourselves, or indirectly to grow food, to produce feed, to feed our animals, which in turn we eat. So here we are now, 23 years down the road, and I have the opportunity to be part of the process where we are leading agriculture on 2 prongs: the development of a sustainable agriculture system in Dominica, and also building resilience in the agricultural system. Both of them are tied perfectly. And what do we do is identifying those areas of agricultural investment that is able to, 1, ensure that we are developing sustainability over time, and 2, building resilience against those things that naturally affect us. We are beset in the agricultural sector in Dominica by quite a number of challenges. The question is, will these challenges go away? Certainly not. They're not going to go away. And that's what sustainability teaches us. How do we coexist with the challenges that will beset our agricultural systems without harming or damaging our capacity to grow food to feed ourselves and our families in the long term. And so in the Ministry of Agriculture, we are undergoing what you call a new paradigm shift into developing sustainable agricultural system. It is not about the money. It is not the amount of money that's allocated to the system, but it is basically how do we utilize the small limited resources that we have to redevelop what we have always been doing that we know is sustainable. And so I compliment the directors and Dr. Lloyd and all those farmers who have participated in this process. I'd like to extend compliments to you on this very progressive and very real experience of developing a sustainable agricultural system in the cocoa industry. And our responsibility at the Ministry of Agriculture is to replicate those best practices and to put them into our other crops. So right now we are negotiating with, for financing to develop our coffee industry similar. And we are looking at another major area that we are developing is our local tuluma and cassava crops. And we are planning in the ministry to look at not just cultivating those crops in sustainable systems, but to look at the agro-processing capabilities and capacities that are there. And so I'm sending out the word, the challenge to come. Now that we have come to the end of this program, the question is, how can we take these practices and replicate it, whether it's in another crop, or let's extend, let's go beyond, let's go into the product development aspect of the cocoa industry and see how we can augment what we have learned thus far to make sure that we sustain the work that you have done so far in the cocoa industry. And as the Ministry of Agriculture, we are basically going to extend the ministry activities related to agro-processing. And how do we do that? The intention is to set up an agribusiness development unit or department in the ministry. Just as we have the Division of Fisheries, the Division of Agriculture, the whole idea is to have an agribusiness development division in the ministry. We will start from small, just ensure that we get a coordinator. But in order to do so, we realign the ministry to allow that we have just 6 major areas or 7 major areas of investment. Sustainable crop development, which cocoa will form a major part of. Under our sustainability crop development program, we're hoping to have 3 prongs or 4 prongs of crops, major groupings, that we will center and we'll have centers of production centers for these. So we'll have the root crop development program, which we have worked with former member of CADI, Dr. Gregory Robin, who is on island now. He has worked with us over the past 2 months in developing our root crop development program, which will be based in Laplin on the agricultural center there, where we'll do the germplasm development and replication, multiplication of planting materials to ensure that we have fresh, disease-free planting materials across the island. We're looking at our tree crop development program, for which cocoa, coffee, and all these others will be, which will be based in my hometown, Woodford Hill, at the agricultural center. We will develop the capacities there and build the germplasm also. Then we're looking at exotic fruits and vegetables, flowers and ornamentals, which we will center in Portsmouth. And the intention at Portsmouth is, come October, we'll be opening out the Agricultural Science and Technology Complex, which the intention is to set up an institute for research and development in Portsmouth in that area. So we'll bring the CADIs and all the others, UB and all the others will collaborate on that single space. And the intention is to create an institute for agriculture, research and development, and we will do all that we can in ensuring that we bring research and science to agriculture. We also have the tissue culture facility, which will be part of that, which will be opened in October. And the hope is that we'll be able to multiply planting materials in mass quantities to allow that farmers are able to get disease-free plants. In sum, we have the livestock development program. One of the things we'll do, we will separate the veterinary unit from the livestock development unit and make sure that one is focused on production and the other one will focus on disease and pest and control, and also ambulatory and post-mortem and anti-mortem services. So by doing so, what we are doing is putting more focus on production, sustainable systems, developing those sustainable systems for production, and ensuring that the farmers are receiving the support that they require to augment production. It does take a lot of energy, a lot of coordination, and it requires the collaborative efforts that CAN has shown definitely that when we put our heads together as farmers, as consumers, as enthusiasts, as financiers, and as policymakers, once we put our heads together to achieve a particular goal, it is possible here in Dominica, and I think this is a very good example of how possibilities can be reality for us in Dominica. Finally, we're looking at our fishery sector. We'll develop mariculture, seamoss especially, and aquaculture, prawns and tilapia. We will also continue our work with the agribusiness development unit to ensure that we put money into agro-processing and that we'll be able to account for the amount of crops that we are producing, stop just depending, as banana did to us, for an export market, for an external market of a raw commodity. What we can do is add value. The value is already acquired, as we have seen from CAN's work. It's already there. All we need to do is retain it, create more value, and add value to our existing value systems and value chains in Dominica to ensure that everybody along the value chain can make a bread. So this is what we are all about. I give you a little synopsis of what we're going to be like in the Ministry of Agriculture. We want to bring it out to the people to ensure that by 2030, agriculture is making at least or minimum of $700 million as contribution to our national product. So therefore, at the end of all, it is the collaborative effort and the coordination that we have among all of us in the agricultural sector that's going to make it happen for us. We have given our commitment, our dedication, our time and our effort to make that happen, and certainly we are confident that we are going to achieve that end. Thank you very much. I have to take my leave immediately because we have, as part of our technical cooperation agenda, we have a group of Cubans coming in from livestock specialists, and some other specialists are coming in so that we could sit to work out a technical cooperation agreement with Cuba. And they are coming in today to spend the next 15 days with us, and that is just the start of it. Last month we signed up for our country programming framework with the FAO, and there are many partners out there that we're going to be joining forces with, and we're looking forward to looking how we can augment the work that CAN has done to actually go into product development and expanding the cocoa industry here in Dominica. Thank you very much. Congratulations, and we're looking forward for continued collaboration with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, P.S. We were happy that you were at least able to see the video. I think we're going to have a link so you'll have access to the video material. We are coming to the point where we're going to invite questions, comments on what you've seen thus far, what you've been thus far. Before I do, I just need to recognize the chairman of the Jeff SGP, Mr. Wayne Vida, and he's on the national steering committee. So welcome, as well as I am the director of agriculture, Mr. Brumant, I have to take you along. No problem. All right. We understand. So now is the time that you can ask questions. We have the media here with us. If you have any questions I need to ask, we can on materials that we have seen, heard, any other matter. Just say your name and just ask your question.
My name is Pat Zero. I would like to know from Dr. what is the recommended way of disposing of the waste cocoa pods?
Waste cocoa pods. Dispose. That's a bad word. Dispose, that's nutrition, that's stuff for your soil.
It makes a lot of people say it's really good, because there's a risk of black pod.
Right, yeah. But composting is not really the best way to deal with stuff like that. So you need to, other material, like don't call them waste, but byproducts, like manure and stuff. You get it? But composting is really best. Depending on some wood, you have to take it out and put it, in somewhere and collect all the stuff that you have. You have to take the benefit of it in terms of, when you compare, right now, with the price of fertilizers, a lot of things changing. In terms of, because if you consider the cost of a bag of fertilizer and the cost or the work involved to, take those good material we consider waste. Yeah, it's waste. And do things like composting with it that can reduce your need of, or eliminate in some cases your need for fertilizer. It makes a lot of sense. I'm happy with the raise. But that would be my advice.
Any other hands? Any other great party? Mr. Carlos?
Yeah, so Dr. Lloyd, I spent some time at the Cocoa Research and Development Center at University of Wisconsin in 2018 October. And for the time we spent there, a lot of us from the Caribbean Basin who are interested in cocoa. We were told that the European Union had taken a decision that by January 1, 2019, they would not accept any cocoa product in Europe that has a cadmium deposit greater than 0.08 parts per million. So at the University of West Indies, I knew they would try to do some marketing up there before 2017, so I asked them, what do they know about the cadmium levels in Dominica? And they said they had started some work that was heterorganic, and they had no final conclusions about where we work on that. I asked the question because I believe the thing that's attracted me in cocoa is not cocoa, it's the money I like. I'm just serious. I'm not subsistent farmer, I'm not even a farmer, I'm an agricultural entrepreneur. So I'm not wasting time on this. So the point is, how much the cocoa industry is? $100 billion a year. But you see 70% of that being come from Africa. And everybody that processing and retailing and manufacturing in the Western world using their profits from that cocoa bean to buy Lamborghinis and Bentleys and the living mansions, reheated swimming pools and pleasure boats. They can send their children to university. And the guy in Africa, in Ivory Coast, and Burkina Faso, I did the research, I dig in, that making the cocoa bean to do that, he cannot have enough money to buy a bar of chocolate when they send it back to his country from Switzerland. So it makes no sense. And I'm not going to contribute to that. And then, well, you also know that across the border from Mali and Ivory Coast is an active human traffic trade where you can buy a child for 230 euros any day you want and use that child on a farm in Ivory Coast as an eternal slave for the rest of his life. So the point is, it's not, I like work, but I like money more than work. I like cocoa, but there's money in the cocoa. If I get $1 billion from it, I don't want nobody to help me to get that, I'll work for it. But the point is, when you want my cocoa, you mustn't tell me how much you pay me for it. I will tell you what to sell it to. That's right. If you don't want it, you leave it there. Right? So that is the trajectory, that's the trend I think. So, I say all that to say that Dominica, in my mind, with one of the finest flavor cocoa, the best genetic makeup in a bean on the planet, and there are only about 9 other countries like us that can do that. Because Africa cannot do it. What they're doing is bulk. You know that? What we do is flavor. Okay, good. So ours is in higher demand here. Although they have quantity, but we're really good at quality. So with that advantage, I think it's important for us to be able to penetrate the European market and the United States market. So this cadmium deposit deal is important for me to know. I have been asking questions about it, and I have since learned that some work has been done on it, and there's a report somewhere. Is that correct? Have you seen that report?
Yeah, well,
no.
I can answer now or
No, I go to sit down. So listen to that. I just want to know if the cadmium residue, because the University of Reading is some okay as well. And they told me that it is possible for you to have the deposit in the soil. And the cadmium can be in the soil, but they say it is possible that the plant will not absorb it, and you can find it in the leaf and to find it in the bean. All of that, and that's what they say. So I would really like to know what is the cadmium, the level of cadmium.
So where do we have an issue? Where do we have an issue? Okay.
Right.
Thanks for your question. That is a very important question. I'm aware that work was done by the University of the West Indies in a project that Dexia and the Ministry of Agriculture collaborated on. Was it Pumpkin Carrier? And there was a cocoa cluster and so on. So I attended actually, well, I had benefit to look at the results from that. And I attended some session where the people from you who did the work and so on presented their results. They did samples, I think, in excess of a few hundred across the country, and they concluded that we did not have a significant an issue to be alarmed about, from my understanding, of cadmium. Right? Yeah, that was the conclusion. That was the conclusion from that. So I think with that information and what CAN has been able to move forward through this project, we should be making some millions by now, or setting up ourselves to be making some.
Those are the millions to be
I'm happy about your attitude and approach. I think this is something that needs to be adversary driven.
Just a very important observation, Mr. Paris, and I think I just want to add. We also can contribute to the problem of cadmium based on the sort of
the fertilizer.
We know that people might be interested in composting some of the sagas. There's a question as to whether or not. So we also have to pay attention that our soils do naturally have cadmium, even though where we are. We can also contribute to the product line more. So we also have to be cognizant of the fact that heavy metals generally is something that it's becoming more and more zero tolerance in the international markets. And we now need to protect our commodities by not adding to that problem. So that's an important observation. Any other questions? Oh, yes, yeah.
Following up on what Mr. Paris indicated, two persons mentioned in separate presentations that the idea of cooperativism, we cooperating only with farmers to have a greater impact. If you look at industries, expanding and adding value to the product. There was also the idea of so my question is, is there a drive, recognizing that we have this potential, is there a drive to really get into production, not just production, but processing, in the sense that what adds value to cocoa is a chocolate. Your cocoa bean might not be worth much, but the end product is what gives value, financial value to the product. Is there a drive? Is there a thought or even a drive or looking forward to establishing this? So Dominica can say, we not only produce cocoa and can sell cocoa beans, but we now can sell fine chocolate to the rest of the world.
I'm not sure which wins, but I will attempt to give my sense. I think that's a very valid question. Is there a drive? We from the PS and we outlined some of the plans of the ministry, and I really do hope and really pray hard that they actually materialize. I think they are a very good plan. Some like what I read. What I think is going to take, because if you, I like to go back in history when I do it, and as far back as possible. And when I reflect on what has gone on in the past, and the way farmers organized, first of all, you had bigger estates and so on. And those farmers, landowners, were actively involved in shaping the various industries, right? Through their investments, through their whatever. We have a different scenario now, but I think the same attitude in terms of interest and getting together to get things done, we need that same type of spirit. Although you get a feeling that what's driving or what's more commonplace for people to operate individuals, but that's what needs to happen. And from a kindness perspective, we try to encourage and work with groups like the Northeastern Cocoa Growers Cooperative. We had discussions some years ago of trying to have a national cocoa entity. I think it's something that we need to seriously put on the front burner again, and not just front burner, but actually demonstrate some action where that is concerned. Otherwise, things that we do here, little piece here, piece there, it's not going to, they say doing this, can't do that, this one doing that. It's not really, I'm taking us forward, as well. But you're right. That is what we need to do and we should do.
Yes, based on the research, do you have a map of any best places to plant cocoa in Dominica, and is it available?
We don't have a map, but almost anywhere in Dominica is suitable. Once you can access it properly. Once you can access it properly, almost everywhere is suitable properly. But traditionally, you find the plantations in those valleys, hidden valleys, so to speak, because cocoa like shade, shade-loving crop. But I mean, you can create shade that you want really by planting. And I think in terms of Dominica, based on our soil type or rainfall and so on, the idea of tree crop production and an integrated system of tree crop production, to me, is one of the best models that we should be adopting for our agriculture.
Any winning final here?
I want to compliment Khan, but also thank Khan for choosing SUP. Whenever you set up to SUP or the consultancy would.
In-kind contribution.
No, that's, like if they would voluntary. And then we have to really place a value and appreciate the work that was done. So I really like to know how much it will be. I mean, it just speaks of the volume of the type of work that was achieved. And I mean, as an expert, you know, it's $10 an hour. So, you know, we have to really recognize the value, and we don't just get to a point where we have all this research and all these results and all these big plans, and we heard the plans that the Ministry of Agriculture has for cocoa. So we need to understand that it doesn't just come overnight. It takes a lot of work, and SGP is just seed money, 44,000 US. You see how much we did? With 44,000 US. So, but we need to tell people that it's worth more than 44,000 US. So somebody else will not think if they get 44,000 US, they can do all this work. You have to put in, yeah, because you have to put in your co-financing. So we need to really value, and they just set in a co-financing value of 26,000. US as opposed to.
Yeah, well,
it's important for us to get the true value for the global program, so we know what communities put into the program.
Yes, I did that point. Dave and I, we often talk about our contribution, and we know it's significant. Dr. Lloyd is a consultant. His daily rate might be X amount of hundreds of US a day. And we spend quite a number of days working on that project. We also have to do the reports, and to say we have a secretariat where so if you have to do the true value, we cannot say off our head, but this is much more significant than the 44,000 US. That's our partners contribute. We have to do one of the spirit of volunteerism, and so we did so not money on our back, but given the industrial platform that we can do. But certainly there is value in what we do in terms of our contribution. That's why we couldn't pay our videographer much more than last us. Because we didn't have that money.
But I think it's a very important point on this, because there's something they usually call in-kind contribution. Because you have to separate the two. You have the in-kind contribution and the technical services, which is two different contributions to the project. Because you can coordinate a project and you can provide technical services, which is something that we need to capture the true value. I think that's a very important observation, because at the end of the day, to carry out such an assignment, the true cost, we must know the true cost, because you may need to co-opt other experts to assist in the process. So I'm glad that you raised a point, and we could take note of that.
Good morning, everyone. Devin Paris, Paris Family Farms. This is probably a good forum. Piggybacking off of your question regarding a drive to ramp up production, one of the things, the challenges that we as an organization saw post-Hurricane Maria is an introduction of a new challenge to cocoa production for the parents. And there's not much, as a farmer, anybody else is actually farming cocoa, are you going to do about this is required or jackpot in Dominica?
The government says you got to be left.
Well, I know a man that took the parents to court and lost. He's a citrus farmer, and that's what happened after the hurricane. The pirates didn't have much food in the forest, and they found out that cocoa has a lot of seeds. And it devastated one of our main farms, and we couldn't, you can't get them. They will go to prison. And that is in addition to black pod, frosty pod, and rats. So we have a solution for the rats. We use snakes and a few other rat poison. Well, but challenges to diseases that you can actually do something about. The pirates you can't do much. We've been doing some research on our farm. I thought it would be sensible to share what we've been doing. Well, if you have 5,000 trees, you can't have enough wood to put around. But what has worked for us is in the research that we've been doing, it's very inexpensive. It's scare teeth. And what happens? Scare teeth. It's a aluminum foil looking type of teeth.
Okay.
That you can get hundreds of rows of it. It's very small, it's pretty thin, and you just tie it around the trees. And what it does, it really creates an environment of too much movement. and the birds are not sure what is happening. So for the past 4 weeks, we have been, since we've installed them on the larger farm, they have not been able to bite one. I thought that, you know, and I have spoken to other farmers who had that type of challenge, and that has been working for us. We're not sure if they will upgrade and evolve and realize, oh, this is great. But so far, as an inexpensive alternative and solution to getting rid of protecting your production from being devastated by parrots.
And save yourself from prison.
And save yourself from prison. That is one of the options we have. You can get it on Amazon, you buy a roll, you bring it in.
It's scare tape.
So it's called, you can either look for scare tape or bird tape. There are other things that are similar, which are more expensive, and of course importing it into Dominica will have its own challenge. But that provided an alternative for us in terms of getting rid of the birds and the parrots. At least for now, that this crop of production has been a little bit preserved because they were able to keep the parrots off. I thought I would share it because in creating solutions and options for Dominica, I think that's one of the unique challenges that we will face, and I know that other farmers in the valleys and the shaded areas face the problems of parrot invasion. And I thought it would help. The more of us that can produce good, 100% fine and flavor cocoa, closer we get to $1 billion.
That's a good point in the question and comment section. We thank you, those who made that contribution. I think it's an excellent contribution that you're making. We now want to invite, to close, we want to invite Mr. Earlyman to give you a vote of thanks. But right after the vote of thanks, we will take a group photo. We'll look at the better part of the university grounds, take a good photo to close the session. And right after that, there will be some refreshments that we will just have a little inquiry and conversation. Oh,
just quickly, before we go into the vote of thanks, I am here with the interest of breadfruit. And the president, the question is for about breadfruit and so on. And I'm very impressed with the presentation this morning. I'm looking forward. Do you have any plans to do something like that with the breadfruit program? Or can you tell us, as a scripture question, 7 is a very significant number. And this is the 7th year that you distributed this fast healing banana plants. Can you give us quickly something of what happens from 2015 to now? By the way, we are planning a breadfruit activity for ministries in Mahu in July.
Okay, well, we are now the activity. We did work in breadfruit some years ago. Unfortunately, it was not it was total sweat equity, apart from the plants that were donated as tissue culture plants that the ministry helped to win and harden. This gentleman on the back here, Mr. Ferrara, was managing that. So there's not much I can say in terms of plans, definitely for breadfruit, at least immediately, but I think we've been in discussions and can help as much as it can with regard to what that can do. So we'll try to support as much as we can. Bear in mind that breadfruit is an interesting plant as well. It's something that we like to see promoted more and included among the tree crops of value and significance around. It's highly nutritious, has a very low glycemic index, so the people with diabetes and most type of issues, which is very prevalent, it's excellent food for them. So we recognize that value, but to give any commitment or promise as to future what it will do, yes, we recognize
7th year and so on. We would like to really know what's going on with the people we gave the breadfruit and so on. This is for just to drive, about things. It's gonna take. It's gonna, So we have issues with regards to funding and support. If we get some funding and support to move forward, we gradually go on. Not everybody interested in volunteering like myself and everyone. Some people call us glitchish for doing that. But some people are not going to So, so that's the situation. If you have to engage people, we can't do it more. We need to engage people, we need to pay them. Understand. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks. All right, so Mr. Manuel,
Mr. Chair, Mr. Bell, on behalf of the President of the CAN, Mr. Gabriel Christian, and the other directors and supporters of CAN, we would like to express our thanks firstly to Mr. Paris for leading us in prayer this morning. Also, we would like to express our thanks to Ms. Laura Hildebrand for gracing us with your presence and for agreeing to give us a brief remark. We do appreciate that. We hope that when our proposals come your way, you will view it favorably. We want to thank Dr. Lloyd, who did the overview of the video, and my partner. There are people who have an expression, partner in crime. Dave and I are partners, but not in crime. Good works. So we want to thank Dr. Lloyd. I'm not seeing anyone here from the US. Marcus and Mr. Ferrara, please convey to PS Sevre our gratitude and our thanks for him gracing our presence here today. I'm not sure if it's because there's a new Minister of Agriculture, but it may be a turning point because we have invited other PSs in the past to our functions. And like the Calypso said, they're going to cut you. So we're happy that Mr. Severe visited us, and we hope it's when I say boycotting, it's just to lighten up the moment. Don't take that too serious. Life is too short. So we were very happy that Mr. Severe visited us, and he used the word over and over, collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. And in our discussion, in planning this meeting, we said that we want to leave here understanding that as people involved in whatever sector we are in, we make it through collaboration. No man is an island, and when we put our ideas and our thoughts together, we can do so much more. And so we thank him and Marcus as a senior man in the ministry here. We want to convey our gratitude to Mr. Sevre for being here today. My vote of thanks might just be a little longer than usual vote of thanks. And that is simply because of the deep appreciation we have for all those who were involved in making that project a successful one, in the video, in everything. And so I do not want to by chance forget anybody. The Ministry of Agriculture, we want to thank Dr. Reggie William, Dr. Reggie Thomas, who supported us during the video production, and as you saw, he was actually interviewed and supported and gave value to the work that CAN did. Also, Franklin Joseph from the Ministry of Agriculture, who was unable to be here. He sent a message, but he certainly supported us in a number of different areas. Even when we needed transportation to transport plants to various farmers, he and Mr. Farrar made transport available. So we want to thank Mr. Franklin. We would not do justice if we did not single out Agnes Esprit from Jeff SGP. I wanted to give her a round of applause. Every funding agency has their protocol, and Jeff's or grants also have their protocol. And so being first time applicants She assisted us in navigating our way where we were not sure would call, and she was always willing to advise and support. She is not a desktop person. She actually came out in the field when we did the training and the demonstration and participated. So again, Agnes, you are a shining light and example, and we want to thank you. In his absence, Mr. Derek Zamo, a retiree from the Ministry of Agriculture, and just recently, Mr. Cooper and myself, we were talking about retirement, people preparing for retirement. It appears in Dominica that when you retire, people want to dump your side. We came across Mr. Derek Zamo, a former retiree of the Ministry of Agriculture, with whom we consulted very early in the program. And this man is a treasure trove. He has a wealth of information. And he was able to guide us and tell us exactly where we should go and look for special plumes in the valleys, in the mountains. And he led us to the farm of this gentleman in the Collier Heights, Collier Heights. And without him, there are certain things we would have left out of the program, but with his assistance, we were able to capture it, as they spoke about the mixing of different types in the field. And so we want to thank Mr. Zamo for his valuable historical information. Theodora William, a former employee of Dexia, we engaged her in the program to do our field school training, and she, with her experience in that area of work, she did an excellent job. Mr. Ivan Ferrara, who produced grafted plants and also was the facilitator in grafting and the other trainings. I want to thank him, Mr. Marcus Philip, who, when we were wondering who is going to produce plants for us, when they appeared that people were pulling away from camp for whatever reason, Mr. Marcus stepped up to the plate and said, I will produce those 2,000 plants for you. So Marcus, we express our gratitude. Asha Burton from the Kalinago territory, a shining young extension officer who was always willing to assist us, always on the ground and contacting the farmers for the different trainings we held in the Kalinago territory. He didn't have a vehicle, sometimes he had his bicycle, but that's the type of commitment. And to me, that's the type of extension officers we need in agriculture. So thanks to Asha Burton, to all our demo plot farmers, Mr. and Mrs. Gore, who are now out of Dominica, they are attending some funeral in the US. Very supportive. Dorima Mason from the Kalinago territory, a woman farmer, who samples of her cocoa beans were done a few years ago and showed that she had excellent cocoa. Mr. Mark Henry, Harrison Prince, and Cuthbert Villa. We want to thank them for giving us the free will to roam and establish the spots on their farms. And we almost became like family. Alan Napier, we want to thank him. He's a chocolatier. We want to thank him for allowing us to use his processing facility to do our practical demonstration and training. And he actually took us to actually see how the chocolate itself was being processed. He had a special rum chocolate that gave a few people. I'm not sure how they made it home. To the farmers who gave us the planting material, the results that we have in terms of the characteristics of our cocoa material, if these farmers had not given us those materials, we would not know what we have. And so I want to call them by name this morning. I want to thank Mr. Ivan Lark for taking us all up the Colibistry Heights, cross river several times. I feel a road that needs attention by the way. Philip Roll from the rural family in Lyme, Hillsborough area. He worked with us and gave us free rein to go and take materials. We want to thank him. With Nelwy, this aged farmer, still very interested in agriculture. He's almost 90 but continues to plant. And so we want to thank Mr. Lee. Jeffrey Fed on the south of the island. Peter Hill, another former agriculturist who assisted us. A gentleman, Francis Asby, the man they spoke about that have the cocoa dive. Mr. Ashby, very nice and assisted us. And two of our farmers who assisted us with planting material who are now deceased, Mr. Errol Dura and Mr. George Leroy Joseph. We do that in the memory. Mr. Jawanza Stewart, who covered what we did was something different. We had an accountability session where we invited the stakeholders, farmers, everybody, and we gave them a very detailed account of the project. I don't think that has been done before, and probably it is something that Jeff needs to look at in terms of their future products. So Mr. Stewart was our videographer who gave coverage to that, and some of the footage you saw in the final product was from Mr. Jawanza Stewart, so we want to thank him. We want to thank our video producer, Mr. Michael Lee. This gentleman, he filmed himself while a hurricane was going on, so there's no task that is too overwhelming for him to take. I also want to mention Jenny Bell. Jenny Bell. She is a young and upcoming graphic artist. So the graphic arts you saw in the video where he played left Dominica and right in a millisecond. That's how good. And so that was not just about the cocoa and thing, but we also sought to see how we could engage young budding talent and give them that exposure and that opportunity. So Ms. Bell, we want to thank you most graciously. The media who are here, we have the Government Information Service, Mr. Trussell, we are thankful that I know there are a lot of other projects and programs going on, but you are here, and we want to thank you for being here. We want to thank Emo News. It is not Emo News, it is Emo News. So we want to thank Emo News for being here and covering the session and bringing it live to those who cannot be here. They can see what's happening here in real time. I left Kyrie FM last because in my own professional opinion, Kyrie FM radio station is the only station that responded to us in a professional manner. We invited them, they responded, and so I want you, Mr. Duran, to convey to Mr. Steve Vidal that we really appreciate his response to us in almost real time, and for making the effort to send you and your videographer to cover the session. It shows that you are a step above the rest as far as professionalism is concerned and communicating and responding to functions like that. So we really want to thank you, Nafadel, for the coverage, and not that. Since last week, they actually carried the news about this event, and their headline news this morning was about this function. So let's put our hands together. I want to thank all our invited guests who are here. And last but not least, we want to thank Dr. Joseph of UE for allowing us to use this wonderful facility, and for us to see such a video in a center of learning. Right. And I think it complemented it. And so we all were students today, right? Yes. All the students today. We want to especially single out Mr. Seaman, who assisted us in making sure that the technology worked fine for us. Except for minor glitch, I think our event went well. Very well. Yes, we want to really thank Kimani because he's the one who set up the sound system and also assisted. All in all, I want to thank all of you. I think there's some good snaps. I want just a live dance to it. So by now, you can enjoy it.
Thank you.
We're going to have a group photo and then we invite him. But before that, let's thank Mr. Errol for giving